Welcome to Books, Booze, and Murder. I'm Anna.
I'm Alexa.
We're two besties who love to read and have an obsession with true crime. And it's time for our monthly book club.
Yes, our own little duet book club.
Yes, I love it. And then for whomever listens, which, by the way, our episode for our last month for May, that count has increased on YouTube. And I'm like, people are actually listening to us.
Wow, there you go.
So thank you to everyone who is listening for once a month shenanigans. I'm pretty impressed.
I was about to say we're excited, I think.
What's the right terminology? I'm sorry you have to listen to us.
I'm sorry you have to hear my awful voice. I don't even like listening to my voice when I listen to my own voicemail. So I'm sorry.
Oh, I took off the whole "you've reached Hannah, leave a message." I'm like, no, this can be the automated
Computer
Verizon.
is good. Leave it to the computer.
Exactly. Well, we have made it to June.
School year's almost over.
I know. I was gonna wonder how that was for you.
I have 10 school days from this date right now. I have 10 school days.
From when we're recording in the beginning of June. Yep.
I have 10 school days with the children.
With the children.
With the children.
So here's my question for you.
Mm-hmm.
When we first started, you were teaching fifth grade.
Fifth grade math.
Yep. Fifth grade math.
I miss it. I miss it dearly, actually.
Well, I was going to ask you, how would you compare fifth grade math to kindergarten?
Fifth grade math is actually teaching content and trying to make sure kids are growing into adults that are functioning in society. Whereas kindergarten is, we're going to try and teach you how to be people. First and foremost. Because let's be real, these tiny people don't know how to people.
Yeah. So what do you prefer, though?
I prefer the older kids.
Got it.
I do. I think I have more meaningful conversations with them. I feel like I'm doing more. And quite frankly, to be honest, there is something really, really, really nice about teaching one subject.
Yeah.
Like just teaching math. Like granted, I also taught math RTI. I also taught ELA RTI.
So for those who are not in the education field, what does RTI mean?
Response to intervention. So it's changed names a couple times, but response to intervention is basically you get tested 3 times a year and you have to meet a certain benchmark that is the benchmark of like everyone else in the country of that age, essentially. If you are below, what's our magic number? I can't even remember, but it's like if you are significantly below the 50% bell curve, then you will receive extra services that will kind of reinforce what's already being taught in the classroom. So this is a completely separate time from the actual ELA time and completely separate time from the math time.
Okay, so we're both technically millennials. So, I mean, I was in AIS math. Do I remember what AIS stands for? No, but it sounds like it's the exact same thing where I got extra time outside of class to help me understand basic concepts.
Yes, I think that's with the guidance of a teacher who gave you other things to also work on that worked with your math teacher.
Got it. So it's the same thing.
Yes.
AIS during our time in school. Got it. Cool.
Yeah. And then I was over here taking AP Stats.
Meanwhile, in New York State, when we were in high school, it was Math A and Math B.
Yeah, there's that too. Well, I took Math A and Math B, and then I took AP Stats.
That sounds awful.
I never took like AP Calc. That was not for me.
Yeah.
But, or maybe it wasn't AP Stats. I think it was just Stats. It was just Stats. I shouldn't say that because I did not take an AP test to go along with it.
But then again, we also know that you're the one with the math brain, and I do not. We'll be out at a restaurant, and I'll be like, Alexa, what's the tip amount? Can you do that math real quick for me?
My husband does that too. He's learning. He's learning, and I'm really proud of him because he was another one that was like, my brain don't math.
This is why I get along so well with your husband.
Yes.
And my husband gets along very well with you because you're both like,
yes,
give me the pen.
Numbers, give me the numbers, please. Don't give me words because words are arbitrary.
Meanwhile, I'm like, I know words. Give me all the words.
Uh-huh.
Well, I realized also I don't think I asked you last month how your little vacation went because I think we talked about how you went and saw Disturbed. How was that
Oh, spring
concert?
break.
Yeah.
That was fun. Disturbed was awesome. That was a really short trip though. In like it was a long trip for a short period of time. Because again, it was like, God, what day did we leave on? We left on a Sunday, I think, or a Saturday, and we were back on a Wednesday.
That's a very quick trip.
And we drove all the way to North Carolina. So that's a whole 16 hours in the car there and a whole 16 hours in the car on the way back for a concert and to spend an afternoon with my grandmother.
Yeah. But I'm sure it was nice to also get away.
The concert was a lot of fun. It was, I don't regret going at all. I don't regret doing that even in the slightest.
Yeah.
Because that was my husband's birthday present.
Yeah.
And you know what? That was what he wanted. He was really happy with it. So I'm like, and you know what? The openers, I was really impressed with the openers.
That's cool.
Oh my gosh, I loved them. And I've realized I've heard them before.
Wait, who was it?
So the first opener was Nothing More. They have a song on one of my playlists called Go to War. It's like on my pump up playlist.
Yep.
Really, really good. And someone you might know is Daughtry.
Yeah. He hasn't been in circulation in a while. Woo!
He's kind of like rebranding himself. So he's got a whole bunch of new music, I think, coming out. That's nothing like what he used to play.
Oh.
But he did play Home. And I was like, oh my goodness! This is my favorite song ever.
So you definitely benefited for sure.
Oh my gosh, yeah. It was so good. It was so good. And even before we went down, it was like I started listening to Disturbed and I'm like, yeah, this is good.
Yeah.
I like this. This is good.
And they were good live?
Oh my gosh, they were amazing.
Good.
They like put on the whole show. They had this great big blow up thing. Like I don't even know what they call him, but it's the Bad Man is what they call him. I think.
Okay.
So if you listen to one of his songs, it's called Bad Man.
Okay.
And one of their album covers is the Bad Man. So it's like they had the fire pyrotechnics, and then and then they had like a break halfway through, and the lead singer, I'm not going to know any of their names. Like my husband would be very disappointed in me.
Whatever.
David Draymond. There it is. Ha! Got it. Win for me. I win that one. He came out and they do like a whole performance with it. So he came out, they had this big giant electric chair set up in the very end of the stage. They wheeled him out. He's got the mask on. He's straight jacketed and they're literally wheeling him out on like a dolly.
Whoa.
It was so much fun. And even Greg said it was all like of their old stuff.
Oh, that's awesome.
So it was their 20th anniversary tour.
Oh,
so they were playing all of their older music. So it was like, that was a really special treat because they're really good.
Yeah.
Really, really good. Yeah.
See, that's one of those things where I feel like in modern day music, there's so much auto tuning and there's so much just computer generated additives.
Yeah.
Where finding a genuinely good band
is hard.
Yeah. And then there's a particular band where I saw a video of, and I'm not going to mention their name, where they sound pretty decent when you're listening to a recording of them, but live, I was like,
disappointing.
Very disappointing. And then just looking in the comments of this video, everyone's like, yeah, you go for like some of the theatrics. You don't go to actually listen to like a well-performed song. So
I don't like that.
Yeah, so that's refreshing.
Yeah. Well, you just got back from your nice long vacay too.
Yeah, that was busy. So we flew from Vermont, since we're very close to Vermont where we are. And then we flew into San Francisco and we arrived at our hotel at 4 a.m. Eastern. So I was exhausted, but yeah, we explored San Francisco a little bit. I saw Alcatraz. Yeah.
Is that wild?
It was so cool. So they do a guided audio tour.
Right.
Which I think is brilliant because the acoustics in there, you can't have a Park Service member doing that tour and have it be enjoyable. Like the content would be good, but just being able to hear people
would be next to impossible.
Exactly.
Right.
So doing a self-guided audio tour, and the Park Service has a really good way of sanitizing all the headsets.
Oh, good.
So it's like, okay, I'm not touching people's nasty shit.
Ears are gross.
Yeah. So we explored that a little bit, and part of this trip was like final hurrah to see some family, as you know.
hmm
And when we were telling my parents, they're like, "Oh, this is essentially a vice versa of the trip of when we adopted you." So
hmm
we did San Francisco. We went down to San Jose to visit the Winchester Mystery House.
hmm
We would fit in that house perfectly. Your husband would fit in that house perfectly.
hmm
My husband did not fit in the house perfectly.
Yeah, you sent me that one picture, and it's like, don't hit your head there, bud.
Yep. Um,
Carefully.
and then we went to Yosemite, which the entrance for Yosemite is unlike any entrance. It's just like middle of the woods, random.
hmm
Here, um, yeah, Yosemite and Kings Canyon near Sequoia National Forest,
hmm
there's no guardrails.
hmm
So when you're on cliffs and you're driving around on windy roads,
Oh.
I was white knuckling it.
Oh.
And I was like, this is terrifying. But yeah, we went fly fishing in Yosemite.
Yeah, that's fun.
100% would go back because we
Good.
didn't get to explore a lot of it. And then we explored obviously Kings Canyon with all the big trees. I was like, these are monsters. And we
hmm
were literal tree huggers.
Yeah. Yep.
And then we visited the family in Bakersfield, which clearly Bakersfield has the reputation of you only really go there to visit family. And I was like, oh, okay.
Okay.
So then we went out to wine country. That was dangerous.
I can only imagine.
I bought a hoodie and I was very not sober when I got it.
Fair enough.
I was like, but it's comfy and it's
It's-
soft and I need it.
I was about to say it's comfy, and you're probably gonna wear it forever and ever and ever.
Oh, yeah. I mean, every time I wear it, I think of my brother and sister-in-law. So it's one of
Yeah.
those things where it's great. I got to meet my niece. That was
So
super cool. Yeah,
fun.
she's super cute. And then we finished off with going to Vegas. And Vegas is officially a one-stop destination where it's like, okay, like I'm good after this. Or you go for like a girls' weekend
Right.
to see some shows. The shows there were phenomenal.
hmm
The Wynn currently has Awakening.
hmm
And you're a theater person just like I was.
Mhm.
The acting, the way the stage was, so you have seating 360 around this one
That's
platform
wicked.
and it's raised. So no one's in each other's way.
hmm
And then they had massive like puppets, I guess you could say,
hmm
where I don't the puppets were just monstrous. Took about 4 to 6 cast members to move. They were huge.
Wow.
And then they had these large, I'm going to call them a slide, where they came down. And initially I was like, okay, like it's really cool to kind of see these coming down, like leading to the environment. Yeah, no, they were strong enough where cast members were able to like walk down them.
Oh,
I was like, holy shit.
wow.
Yeah, so we went to the Wynn, saw Awakening. We might have seen a very risque show. Or the minute we sat down, I go, what did we get ourselves into?
Oh, geez.
I was like, oh no, they're not kidding when they say it's the sexiest show in Vegas.
Wow.
I was like, oh no.
Okay, then.
And then we saw one other show, and I'm blanking. It's all a blur right now, but
I was
yeah.
gonna say you pack a lot into a vacation. You're the type of person who's like, I want to do all the things on vacation. I'm just kind of like, I want to sleep on vacation.
So here's kind of the key with that. I want to relax on vacation.
Mm-hmm.
My husband likes to go, 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 go. And I'm like, can we find some balance, please?
Mm-hmm.
So part of it is like I'm going along the flow with him. Like when we went on our honeymoon, I've told you this numerous times, but like we went to Cancun and I was like, okay, we've gone to see a few places. I want to sit my butt down. I have a drink and I have a book. Leave me alone.
Mm-hmm.
10 minutes later, hey, you wanna fish?
No.
You wanna swim?
No.
And I was like, no, I really don't.
You go do what you want to do right now. I want to do this.
Yep. So the last day we were there, we had a pool day.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I needed this. And then that's what it was. I was very drunk when we went to the Sphere.
Mm-hmm.
And I fell asleep during the show. I mean, that's what 64 ounces of a mojito does to you.
Yes, that's a very big mojito.
Well, we did 2 32 ounces.
Well, then, yeah,
Yeah.
that's still a big mojito.
Yes. Yes.
Good gracious.
And he had a Mai Tai. We were not sober when we left our
No,
hotel to get into the lift.
that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that.
But yeah, so that was vacation. Definitely packed in a lot, but it is our kind of final hurrah for a little while. So it's not like we do that all the time.
No.
And thank you, Dad, for helping to fund that. Appreciate it.
Yep. Yep.
But all right. So before we jump on in, because we have definitely chatted more than usual,
Yes.
I do have a surprise for you.
Okay.
So if you've been listening for a while, you know that we covered the Housemaid series on episode 6 of last year.
Mhm.
And did you know that she came out with a novella for that?
Yes, you did. Yes, because you told me.
Well, I am passing this on to you to read.
Ooh.
So this is The Housemaid's Wedding.
That's exciting. And it's a short little.
Yeah.
little
Oh,
shorty.
I read it start to finish.
Yeah.
Words. I read start to finish just this afternoon within like an hour or two.
Literally just this afternoon.
Yeah.
Wow. No kidding.
So for those who are not familiar with the Housemaid series, well, definitely go check out our episode. This book fills in the gaps between the second and the third book.
that's a big gap. That's 10 years?
I think so.
About?
Yeah, if not
Yeah.
a little bit longer. Yeah, so it fills in the gap there. It's self-published.
Wow.
Yeah, so no wonder why I couldn't find it in our local bookstores.
Yep.
So I converted a few of my coworkers into reading this.
Of course.
So my coworker had to buy it. She was like, I need this in my life. So there we go.
Okay. That works.
All right, let's jump on in. What you got for me this month for a drink?
All right. So here's to us. Quite literally, this is the end of the book drink. It is tea, hot tea, and a shot of Jameson that all the women share together
Yes.
to toast their long lost husband. So
I like it.
yep.
Cheers.
To us.
Love it. Love it.
Mm-hmm.
Yum.
Mm-hmm. Love hot tea.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll get started. Now, granted, this month, I literally just finished the book yesterday, I think.
That's all right. I forgot to post the June book until last night.
I saw that and I think it was literally.
Well, you were.
I was gonna say, did you post it after I posted that I finished it?
I did, but but it was because I realized I forgot to.
It's okay.
My brain was already on vacation. Don't judge me.
It's okay. There's no judgment. There is zero judgment here. Because, like I was about to say, I just finished this book. I did not want to write the summary.
Yep.
So I'm winging it today with what the summary is.
I approve of that message.
We're going to go with it. It's fine.
Cool.
So this was actually it was an interesting book. It was told from the perspective of Laurel, Belinda, Angie, and Hayes. We never really hear, we hear all of the stories of all of his marriages, but we don't hear Scarlett's perspective or Ellery's perspective, just because Ellery's 9.
Yeah.
So we'll start off in the very beginning. We talk about Deacon, our lovely Chef Thorpe, that this book is kind of all about, even though he's never alive in this book.
Yep.
He's just we find out the first time, in the first chapter, he's dead.
Mm-hmm.
He was found dead at his Nantucket home,
Mm-hmm.
which, by the way, I want a Nantucket home so bad.
Yes. Can we go in on that together?
Yes, please. Should we do a Nantucket home or should we do a ski house in Montana? We'll talk about that later because both sound amazing.
They both do.
We're going to go with it. So we start off with Deacon going to Nantucket with his father many, many years ago when he was really little. And he calls it the perfect day, where they go to the beach club and they sit down and have a great meal and they take the ferry and just kind of enjoy their father-son time together. And then shortly after that, Deacon's dad just kind of disappears.
Yeah, that was brutal.
That was kind of wild. I was like, wow, okay. And of course, the dad was just like, I just want a perfect day with my son. That's all I want. I'm like, wow. And so you're just going to then leave your son. Got it. Understood.
It makes me really appreciate the childhoods we had,
Oh, yeah.
um, but it also makes me feel so bad for everyone who's had a parent that's done that to them.
Yeah, just kinda up and left.
Yeah.
It sucks. It sucks
Mhm.
a lot. So, let's see if I can get this right. So, first wife. So we find out that Deacon and Laurel is his first wife. Laurel is a social worker for the city of New York City. Bless her soul, by the way, because holy smokes, I would not be able to do that. That's a big no for me.
Mhm.
But she was Deacon's first wife. He and her were high school sweethearts, got pregnant at 19, got married, were together for, I think, upwards of 15 years, maybe potentially. And then and so Laurel kind of was with him through all of the really hard stuff that Deacon kind of had to go through. Like Laurel like didn't go to college because she got pregnant with Hayes, and Deacon was kind of like still just working his way through culinary school and trying to make things work, and where do I want this to go? And we find out throughout this entire book that Deacon's a very well-known chef. He had two shows that he was part of that were both very successful.
Food Network.
He ran a super high-end restaurant, but we also find out later on that this high-end restaurant is basically what's draining them of money.
Mhm.
Like, oh my gosh, I could not even imagine some of the stuff that is like going on with all that custom plates, 10-course
Oh my god.
meals.
Yeah.
Holy smokes.
Yeah.
So, first wife, Laurel, son, Hayes. Hayes is, and of course, Deacon has paid for everything for Hayes for his entire life because Deacon was this very well off chef. No one questioned it. Everyone was kind of like, yeah, he's got money. He can pay for it. No big deal. And then we find out that Hayes in the very beginning is in like Thailand or something.
Yeah.
He's
Overseas.
somewhere extremely tropical with
I
some girl who's keeping him nice and juiced up on the heroin.
Yep. High as a kite.
Holy smokes, that's something
Yeah.
something in and of itself. And so of course when they all first find out that Deacon has passed, part of his will is he wanted to be cremated. He wanted all of his people that he loved to get together in the Nantucket house and spread his ashes on the water.
Mhm.
Which I'm like, that sounds like the perfect way to do it, quite honestly.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be opposed to that. But I don't think he quite thought through three of his ex-wives, or
Mm-mm.
two of his ex-wives and then his current wife, all under the same roof. Are you out of your tree, bro? Holy
Yeah.
smokes, man.
Mhm.
So Laurel was kind of like that base. She was the good one. She was my favorite wife, by the way.
Yeah.
Absolutely 100% easy to say she was the favorite
Yeah. Most
because
genuine.
most genuine, real, nothing else. And she embraced that Nantucket house, of course,
Yes.
because that was her baby.
Yes.
And part of the deal with the Nantucket house, that was Deacon's huge thing, was nothing is changed unless it is absolutely necessary for how the house runs
Yeah.
and how the house works. So they have an outdoor shower. They don't have a shower inside, which I'm like, that's pretty freaking cool.
I mean, that was some of my best memories in Cape Cod was outdoor showers.
Yeah. You don't like at the beach. It's
Yep.
like you just go get in the shower outside. You don't need to go inside and get everything all sandy and gross.
Yep. True story.
Yeah. And then where did I go with that? Oh, and like even the furniture, all the furniture is original to the Insleys who owned it prior, and nothing changed.
Yeah.
Nothing changed other than the stuff that they kind of brought in, like Angie's dollhouse or
Yes.
all the other stuff that absolutely needed to be upgraded because it broke. So like the Jeep was
Mhm.
another thing that they bought and this is the beach Jeep. It's like, yeah, you don't need anything super special.
Yeah.
And then of course the Jeep broke down, and then they had the
Yeah.
truck, and so it's like, okay, that's fair. I
Mhm.
get it. I totally understand. So then after Laurel comes Belinda.
Yep.
She's Hollywood starlet. She was one of those, like, I see it, I want it, I'm going after it. I don't care that it's married.
Mhm.
Which I'm kind of like, I don't like you.
Yeah.
I don't like you very much. You seem like a very needy person. Hollywood starlets usually are.
Yeah.
So we have Belinda. Belinda literally steals Deacon out from underneath Laurel.
I hated that.
I hated that. Like, invite to the hotel, invite to the hotel, invite to the hotel. Yep, we're gonna have sex while you're married to your wife,
Mm.
and your child is gonna suffer for it. It's like, really?
Yeah.
Really? You're gonna do that? There's not like anyone else that you want?
Yeah.
Ugh, it was annoying.
Yeah.
And then of course they obviously, Deacon ends up divorcing Laurel. Deacon and Belinda get married. He moves out to Hollywood with her. He tries to kind of make his mark in the industry there, since he's still fighting his way up there. He's doing well,
Mhm.
but he's still fighting his way up there. And then he makes the trip back like once a month to see his son Hayes.
Yeah.
And then of course him and Belinda can't get pregnant for whatever reason. They just can't get pregnant. And they adopt Angie. And by the way, I like Angie. I like Angie a lot,
Me
because
too.
Angie and him, I think, are the closest
Yes.
of all the siblings, because then Angie works with Deacon in the restaurant, like
Mhm.
underneath him as one of the line cooks. Or no, she's the fire cook,
Yes.
the fire
Yep.
tender, whatever they
Yep.
called her. I can't remember right now.
I mean, neither of us work in a restaurant.
No,
But yeah,
no. And of course, I'm trying to just remember this from, it's fine.
you're doing a good job.
It's fine.
I mean, I agree. I did really appreciate the relationship that Deacon had with Angie. And I appreciated the fact that she was of color.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there was the way that she was accepted into the family, the way that
Mm-hmm.
her and her dad bonded. Oh,
Mm-hmm.
loved it.
Mm-hmm.
Loved it.
Mm-hmm. Yep. That was cool. What else?
Well,
Oh, and then of course, like when Belinda and him, so then of course they adopted Angie, and of course Belinda was going back and forth on movie sets all over the world. So of
Mhm.
course and Deacon decided to move back to New York at that point. He's like, it doesn't make sense for me to be all the way out in Hollywood when you're all over the place everywhere and not even in Hollywood. So I'm gonna move back. And then they hired a nanny, which of course ended up being wife number 3.
Mhm. Yep.
And of course, like Laurel doesn't like Belinda,
Mhm.
and Belinda doesn't like Scarlett.
Yep.
Miss Southern Belle.
Oh, she was annoying as
She was
hell.
annoying, and you'll find out why in a minute.
Yep.
She was really annoying. But so we'll keep going on Belinda. So while him and Belinda are still married, he of course, and Deacon is one of those people who just is very crass. He's got like one of his most famous recipes, which by the way, I want to make like every single recipe that's in that book.
Those recipes sounded so good.
So good. But like we'll see how ambitious I feel at one point or another.
Yep.
But it was like his first big one was the crab dip.
Mm.
And he was on one of the late night talk shows, and they said, well, what do you do to make it so good? And he makes a joke about spreading it with cocaine, and then everyone is up in arms about it. And I'm like, y'all need to chill. Like, obviously, that's not what he's actually doing. It's supposed to be funny, relax. Now, granted, Deacon did have a very big problem with drugs and alcohol.
Yep.
I think he slowly kind of like started to creep downhill after his first marriage ended. And he's kind of like, I just kind of suck as a human. So I'm just going to drown all the feelings in anything I possibly can. It doesn't help that the restaurant industry is really tough on people.
Yeah.
And really, I don't want to say reinforces that type of behavior, but you just kind of find that culture
Mhm.
everywhere.
Yeah.
unfortunately, in all the restaurants. So obviously after Belinda and him get a divorce, she goes and she marries some horse trainer in Kentucky, and they end up having 2 of their own biological children.
Yeah, but he's
So,
awful.
well, yeah, and so of course this causes a rift between Angie and Belinda
Mm.
because, it's like, yeah, you have 2 of your own kids. Why do you need me now?
Yeah.
And of course, Angie never actually sees her mom because her mom never comes to see her.
Yeah.
And like, unfortunately, it seems like Belinda's second husband is not a gem himself and
No.
is constantly cheating on her, which really sucks.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, I feel bad for her in that sense, but it's kind of like, no, what goes around comes around, lady.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, in that scenario.
Yeah.
So then we have Scarlett, who
Pain in the
leads.
ass.
Yeah, she's kind of like, I'm trying to. She's like that Southern Belle debutante who doesn't eat anything but is always looking for the next thing to make her even skinnier, even though she's already a freaking twig.
Yep.
So she had all of these like get skinny quick. She never eats, and it's like, how are you the wife of a chef and you don't eat?
I couldn't do that.
No. Like just her drinking the skinny for life nonsense that she's drinking. I'm just like, ew.
Yeah.
Give me real food, please.
Yeah. Yep.
Please. All of these recipes in here sound awesome. Eat those.
Yeah.
Eat like 5 of those. She's a crow.
Mm-hmm.
And so, of course, this girl, this chick, I can't tell if she really conned him into all of these schemes of hers or if he just kind of is like, yep, sure, go ahead. Like she just proposed it and he kind of was like going with it. I really couldn't tell at one point or another because it sounded like she drained him of money with all of her get rich quick schemes. But it also sounded kind of like he was slightly delirious at one point and just kind of was like, yep, we're going to write that check. We're going to write that check. We're going to write this check. Because, of course, her uncle was the one that was footing the bill for the restaurant at one point. It was one of the investors. And then all of a sudden he pulled out as the investor.
Yep.
And then, of course, there's Deacon's best friend, Buck.
Yep.
Him I wanted to smack as well. Because he had how many wives? He was married and divorced at least twice, I think.
Yeah.
If not 3 times.
But he always had that true love, though.
He did always have that one true love, but he's just an idiot and couldn't help it. And he's a guy. Sorry.
Yeah, I was going to say no offense, but he's a guy.
He even admits it in the book. He's like, I could not even help myself.
Yeah.
So now that we've kind of given the backstory on all the wives and kind of how they are and blah, blah, blah.
Mhm.
Oh, and so, of course, Scarlett ran away to Savannah, Georgia, because Deacon forgot to pick up their daughter, Ellery, and no one could get a hold of him.
Mhm.
So and of course, Scarlett was on a quote unquote silent retreat, which she was not on a silent retreat. Deacon called and she was not there.
Mhm.
Yep. It's fine.
Yep.
It's fine. Everything is fine. But anywho, but so they up and leave, and then it was very shortly after that, Deacon just kind of goes to his Nantucket home and he ends up dying.
Yeah.
Gets sober after he forgets Ellery, completely sober, and kind of goes up to Nantucket to kind of recreate his perfect day that he had with his dad. And then he just ends up passing away, I think of heart failure or heart attack or something.
Yeah.
Is what they told him.
Yeah.
So now let's go to the whole family gathering for this weekend. Holy smokes, that was a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So we find out, obviously Laurel gets there first. She seems like she's the planner, so she takes the master bedroom. She's like, it was my house first, so yeah, I'm going to sleep in the master bedroom. Support her choice.
Yes. 100%.
Absolutely 100% support that. And then, of course, assigns Belinda to the maid's quarter, which is hilarious.
I loved it.
It's like, I'm not surprised. They're slightly petty, but I get it. I understand.
Smallest bedroom.
Smallest bedroom there. And of course, they say that the Spirit of the Maid still haunts that place. Fine. And then Angie and Hayes get there, but Hayes ends up meeting Angie in New York City, and then they drive up together. And then Buck is, of course, there because he's the executor of the estate.
Mhm.
And of course, he has bad news for all the parties. There are multiple mortgages on this house. All of them have to be paid off in the next month, and no one has that type of money. Oh, and by the way, the restaurant is actually a money suck.
Yep.
So he's like, "Oh, okay, this is awesome. Thanks, Deacon. You're doing great. Awesome." And so he's trying to find a way to break this to all the ladies because, of course, Laurel doesn't have that type of money. She's
Nope.
a social worker. So there's no way. And of course, the house is all of theirs.
Yes.
It's a third Laurel's, a third Belinda's, and a third Scarlett's. So there's no way that they're each going to be able to pay their own parts. Like
Mhm.
Belinda's the only one who might potentially be able to pay her own part. And of course, Laurel is too proud to ask.
Yep.
Which
And Belinda's like, fuck this place.
and Belinda's just over it. Yeah, her and her Hollywood starletness is just
Yeah.
like, I would have changed this place and remodeled it 8 million times and upgraded everything. And it's just like, no, you're taking away the charm of it, lady.
Yeah.
Nantucket is supposed to be just kind of chill, go with the flow. You go 10 miles per hour on the dirt road.
Mm-hmm.
That's the type of place it is. You have no cell phone service. Done. End of story. It's the way it's supposed to be.
Let's go to Nantucket now.
Yes, please. Seriously. I want to go. I want to be just done. So, of course, Laurel gets there first. Buck is also there. They start talking. Then Belinda shows up, cries hysterically, blah, blah, blah. Angie and Hayes get there. And Angie's kind of like, and of course, no one knows that Hayes actually has a drug problem at this point. So Angie's just kind of like, you look like shit. He also flew all the way from like Thailand and was debating whether or not he was going to go anyways. So it was Angie was probably just chalked it up to, okay, he's probably just tired.
Mm-hmm.
Understood. I'd be tired after that flight too. Not even all the withdrawals that he might be experiencing at the same time.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
Yeah. And then, and of course, they can't get a hold of Scarlett and Ellery. They can't get a hold of them to get them there, but they get a hold of them real fast when all the credit cards are cut off.
Yes. I was like, of course. You're a freaking leech, Scarlett.
She is. She's just that Southern Georgia Savannah debutante that just finds the next wealthy husband.
Yep. 100%.
For example,
Yes.
when she decides to, on her silent retreat, never fully confirmed, but the theory is that she was with her ex, Bo Tanner, who is also already married at that point to her best friend. And so, of course, yeah, talk about Scarlett being a leech. She literally wanted to go to photography school, wanted to invest in this skinny for life, had all of these get rich quick schemes, and Deacon, and of course, and then Scarlett didn't want the apartment that was him and Belinda's because it's his and Belinda's. So had to fucking do all that. And I'm just like, oh my Lord alive. Yep. We pause this for a minute.
Alexa was like, I gotta pee.
I had to pee. Sorry. So we talked about, that's right. Yep. Scarlett ended up being with Bo Tanner on her silent retreat. Yep. And we're most likely and of course he's already married.
Yes.
Yep. There's that. So they all get to the Nantucket house, minus Scarlett and Ellery, of course. And the one guy that they find there, his name is JP. Love JP, by the way. He's great. He's like that part-time park ranger person who is very knowledgeable and down to earth. And he was actually the one who also found Deacon deceased, unfortunately. Very sad. But so they're just trying to go through this weekend and trying to really get this, almost like say get it over with, because it's like it's only a Friday to a Tuesday, I think is how the book is written. But holy smokes, I feel like I would be there. It'd be there forever.
Yeah.
It's a long time to be with people that you're not a fan of.
Yeah.
That is a long, long time.
I don't know how well I'd handle that.
I would not handle it well at all. At all.
Nope.
Just be nasty looks left, right, up, down, all the things.
Yep.
We also find out that poor Angie is in a relationship with a married man.
Yeah.
Takes after her mother that way.
Yes.
And
He's a
the
dick.
wife of said married man has found out about them and is kind of calling her out a little bit. And I'm like, wow, okay.
Yes, she did. I was
Don't
like,
talk to your husband or anything and try and make that better, but fine.
mhm.
Oh, just woof. And of course, no one knows except for Angie. And then, of course, there's no cell phone service. And he was supposed to leave Dory, and he was going to call her and make everything right. And they were going to live happily ever after. And then she went to Nantucket.
Yep.
But he ended up meeting her on Nantucket after she kind of already lit a fire with JP, just a little one, though.
Mm-hmm.
Just like very minimalistic flirting type of thing, which I thought was like, oh, okay.
I was
that
like,
works.
girl, he's better.
Do
than the
that.
married man. Exactly.
Please do that.
Yeah.
Do that one. That's better.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, he shows up and he like completely forgets her because Scarlett's there.
Douche.
And I just wanted to smack him.
Yep.
I'm like, bro, you came all this way for your girlfriend who you are apparently leaving your wife for, and you're going to hit on another girl who also happened to be her nanny?
Yeah.
Are you out of your freaking mind?
Oh, 100%.
Oh my God, he just sucked.
Yeah, he was the worst.
He was the worst. And then poor Hayes is like just trying to, I'm not going to say stay sober or anything because he was not trying to stay sober. He was trying to hide it the best he could. So he was trying to avoid the withdrawal.
Mm-hmm.
So they of course have a cab driver named Pirate who's literally dressed like a pirate, another dickwad, who Hayes calls and he's like, yeah, I'm going to get this guy's going to help me out. I know he's going to help me out. He's got the skinny. And of course, this fucking dude just sets him up. Hayes gets his ass handed to him, puts him in the hospital.
Yep.
And of course, what do you give people when they're in the hospital and they're in that much pain?
Medicine.
Percocet.
Yeah.
So, Hayes was getting his fix one way or another. And of course, at one point, it's Belinda goes into his room. I don't remember why Belinda goes into his room, but it's like she's checking on him or something. And she finds a packet of heroin and then she hides it on him.
Mm-hmm.
And tries to confront him about it. And then Laurel gets all like bent out of shape about it because she saw Belinda coming out of his room and being like, are you kidding me? My husband and my son. Of course, that was not the case. I give her credit for that.
Yeah.
But just wild.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, yeah, I'd freak out about that stuff too. Holy smokes. Yeah, that was it was a lot.
Yeah.
Like, I cannot imagine trying to be any of these three women at that point.
Yeah.
And being like, do I tell the woman that hates me that her son is using?
Yeah.
And then it's also, do I just be friendly with the woman who I think cheated with my husband when I was married to him, which, we find out it wasn't Scarlett, it was Laurel.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Deacon took a vacation after him and Belinda had a little tiff.
Yep.
And took a vacation with Laurel.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Everyone thought it was Scarlett because then he married her less than a year after that. And it was like, whoa, okay. But yeah, no. He took the first wife. And of course, Laurel told Scarlett about this. And then Scarlett blurted it out to everybody. And it's like, bitch, you should not have told her. That was stupid. That was dumb. I hope you know that.
Yeah.
And then Scarlett, you're an awful human for doing that. That is not yours to tell. So you suck.
Honestly, this book would become such a great drama TV show.
Oh my gosh, there was just so much drama going
Yeah.
on. And I think I was telling you at one point, I was like, I am so close to finishing this thing, but it's just meh to me.
I
There was
mean,
something about it that was just kind of like, it's okay.
yeah. I mean, I really enjoyed it, but like when it comes to like the ending of it, knowing that Belinda kind of realized like she needed to stop being so stubborn.
She totally redeemed herself by the end of it
Yes.
too, because of course the one of the first days that she's there, she's wrapped in a towel, gets down on her hands and knees and gives Buck a blowjob. Buck is trying to get in bed with Laurel, and then Buck tells Laurel, and Laurel's just like, yeah, we're done now. I was thinking about giving you a chance, and now there's no way because I do not want Belinda's sloppy seconds again.
Yep.
So yeah, it goes from that
Yeah.
and trying to buy someone else's house as they're still living in it.
Oh my God.
That was wacky. I was
I
like,
loved that
really? You are
homeowner.
ballsy.
Yeah. Yeah.
You are ballsy, lady. And it's like, and of course she justifies it as saying like this is her dream home on Nantucket. She loves it. It's just it's perfect and it's awesome and this is I want this to be my home. She was going to pay like an exorbitant amount of money.
Mm-hmm.
And of course she sits down, she has this really nice conversation with the woman who owns it and the woman's like, "I'm not selling my home. As much as I love you as an actress, this is my home. This is the home I grew up in. This is the kid. This is our past, present, and future. I'm not giving this up." And I'm like, you know what? Good for you, lady.
Yeah.
I appreciate that. Totally support that. And then, of course, by the end of this book, Angie and Belinda are a little bit closer because, Belinda can't swim either.
Mm-hmm.
And then as they're spreading the ashes, overboard Belinda goes. Which, like, by the way, Scarlett trying to hug everyone too is just kind of like, you obviously need more food because you're delirious.
Yeah.
You're kind of like losing your own brain cells. I think your body is eating your brain.
Well, knowing that all she packed in her suitcase were those drinks, and then knowing she was making zero money off of that, it's
Mm-hmm.
seeing really what's going on with each of them. It's just
Mm-hmm.
like, aha, life isn't so green on the other side, is it?
Mm-hmm. And then, of course, like Laurel, like they all find out about the money situation. They all find out about the 3 mortgages. I think the restaurant just ends up being sold off. I like they never really talk about
Mhm.
that, but it was one of those, yeah, it was just one of those things where I think the restaurant just kind of went to the wayside, I think. And but Belinda did a very noble thing where she just paid off all the mortgages and said, "This is our home.
Yeah.
This is all of our homes. I want you and Hayes and Ellery and all of us to be able to come here and enjoy our time here."
Hmm. Yeah.
Which I thought was
Yeah.
awesome. I was like, you know what? Good for you. And then all those little excerpts at the end where it was, yep, Scarlett married Beau. Go figure.
Yeah.
Oh, yep, Belinda divorced her husband. Good for her.
Yep.
And then there's the wedding announcement for Laurel and Buck. And I'm like, oh,
It
thank
was the
goodness.
ending I needed.
You know what? It was a good wrap up to all of it
Yeah.
for sure. It was definitely that happy feeling of Deacon did go, have his last perfect day, went to the same beach club that him and his dad went to, had food, swam in the ocean, did all the things that he was supposed to do, and had one more perfect day.
Yeah.
And then everyone else was able to say, yep, this is the way it's supposed to be.
Hmm.
It was good. I thought this was a good. It was again, the rest of it was meh, but it was a good ending to what it was.
Yeah. I mean, I'll say I thought this was like a good drama-filled beach read, which I was
Mhm.
like, good job, Alexa.
Mhm.
um, and I did like the way it was written with a timeline all over the place because you're figuring out what the missing
Mhm.
pieces are. And I'm like, oh,
I thought that
okay,
was cool.
that
Yeah.
makes sense. And we've shit talked Scarlett, which I don't know of a single reader who wouldn't honestly shit talk her.
Oh, she was annoying.
But it was every time I allowed myself to warm up to her, she'd pull something else. And I was like, bitch, I'm trying to like you.
Yeah, right?
Um,
Worst.
I do wish that Pirate the cab driver had been held accountable for like beating Hayes up.
Yeah.
I don't know. I was just like, you piece of shit.
Well, and that was the other thing is that Hayes finally admitted to his mom that he has a heroin
Yes.
problem.
Yep.
And so was able to say, I need to go to rehab.
Yep.
I need to go to rehab. I need to do this thing. And he did it all by himself. He didn't have anyone else tell her, which I was like, that's so awesome.
Mm-hmm.
And then of course Angie dumped Joel and said,
Yes.
please leave.
Yep.
You can go now. Just leave.
I was like, yes, Angie, yes.
Seriously, good for her. Go to the archery lessons with JP instead.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh man. No, I thought this was definitely good selection for sure.
Definitely fitting for June.
100%. Holy moly, I'm ready for Nantucket, but I've never read anything by Elin Hildebrand before.
I hadn't either.
So I'm just like, okay, I'll keep reading her books.
I think I was about to say, I think I have a couple more of hers that I might just try and read this summer while we're sitting our butts on the boat or in the water.
Yes. I like it. All right. You ready to head over to some true crime?
Let's get this one over with.
So we're going to stay in Nantucket this month because, well, it's June and it's the start of summer, and I wasn't ready to give up Nantucket.
Nope, fair enough.
But I've also never been there.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, this is a bucket list item.
Nice.
So Elizabeth, or Beth Lochtefeld, was born in Peekskill, New York, the third of five children.
Okay.
And so while the family lived just north of New York City, they spent their summers on Nantucket.
Makes sense. Sounds very similar.
Yep. It was there that Beth had applied for a summer job as a dishwasher, or as she would call it, and I love this, busting suds.
Yeah.
And according to her boss, she was doing this job for a week or two before she became a waitress and was soon seen as a leader and admired by everyone.
Mm-hmm.
And unlike me, she was eager to try new things. I was like, I'm very hesitant over new things sometimes, unless I can do it perfectly. So, for instance, she visited a friend in California and the two were planning to go surfing. The friend knew Beth had only ever boogie boarded. So she was like, are you sure? And Beth was like, well, Beth essentially said, hold my beer. Watch this. So after Beth graduated from Notre Dame in 1982, she moved to New York City and eventually founded Code NYC. She described it as the work was so hard, she worked her fingers to the bone and her nose to the grindstone.
Mm-hmm.
The epitome of blood, sweat, and tears, essentially.
Yep.
Makes sense since her business was helping architects navigate New York's Byzantine building regulations. Do you know what I just said?
No.
I didn't either.
Okay. Are you going to explain?
Yes.
Oh, good.
So this focused on defining how settlements and towns were built, including rules on building spacing, window dimensions, and projections. So basically addressing sanitation, privacy, and views while also making sure there's enough daylight and ventilation.
Makes sense.
So I was like, okay, she's getting into the nitty-gritty that not many think about.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So it's no surprise to those around her that she was successful because of her work ethic and honest ways. So, for example, other firms would fill out a short form to start a project when the process actually includes waiting in line at the buildings department. So she's like, no, I'm going to do this right first time.
Sure.
And they also, when they're at the buildings department, they collect data and code info that can be hard to find. And so what set Beth aside from others in this respect is that she'd interpret code and find legal ways around it.
Okay.
So she was super smart. And I think what made Beth admirable was the fact that she balanced her social life with a demanding work schedule and had the goal of quitting by the time she was 35.
Wow.
She makes me feel really lazy.
That's lofty.
So she didn't hit that mark on the dot, but it was close enough when she put up for sale her business at $1 million. I was like, hot damn.
Wow. Good for her.
So unfortunately, by this time, it was 2001. And when 9/11 hit, her business wasn't doing all that well.
Mm-hmm.
So she sold it to a couple of her employees. And it obviously wasn't for the asking price, but it was still a pretty penny.
Mm-hmm.
And so this is when she moved to Nantucket, where her parents were living their best retired life. And she got involved in the community.
Cool.
So as successful as Beth sounds, she did struggle with one aspect of her life, and that was in the love department. However, on Labor Day weekend in 2004, it seemed that was about to change. Beth met a woman named Bernadette on the island, and the two had bonded quickly. And it was Bernadette that had called Beth to tell her she thought she was looking at Beth's future husband.
Oh.
This guy was her friend and house guest, Tom Tulin. And when Beth arrived, there appeared to be an instant connection. Not that it really makes a difference, but for the sake of just keeping facts straight,
Mhm.
Beth at this point was 44 and
Mhm.
Tom was 37.
Okay.
So Tom was a tall, handsome, and preppy guy, and Beth liked that he enjoyed literature, music, and came from a Catholic family. One of the things she thought was attractive was that his parents were still together after over 30 years together.
Wow.
Bernadette and Tom had met when they lived as toddlers in the same apartment building in Brooklyn.
Wow, there you go.
Sounds
Small world.
Tom was 4 years younger in the age of her brother, so he essentially became a brother to her as well.
Wait. That math's not mathin'. 4 years younger than Bernadette.
Yes.
Okay, that makes more sense.
Yes. Yep.
It was like, wait,
Yep.
you just told me it was 44 and 37. That's not 4 years.
This is why I have you clarify. That's why I have that question. Yes. So he was 4 years younger than Bernadette.
Okay.
So growing up, he went to a private school before attending Columbia University. After graduating in 1991, he sold cars before transitioning over to being a broker at Smith Barney. And I'm not in the investment world, and I was like, what the hell is Smith Barney?
Mhm.
So it now operates under Morgan Stanley.
Okay.
So it fell victim to the financial crisis in 2009, and so that's what happened with the transition.
Mhm.
So anyway, he continued on with other jobs in finance, including being a bank executive on Wall Street. And by the time they'd met, so him and Beth, he was pursuing other adventures. And like I think most women who are in love do, Beth called her brother to tell him all about her new love interest. And after having many of these conversations with her, he knew to not get too excited, but he was still going to be happy for her.
Sure.
So the long distance relationship with Tom being in New York City and Beth in Nantucket began. And so talk about the future of their relationship was quite serious, as on the first day they were together, Tom said, "I'm going to marry you."
Wow.
Beth was like, okay, like whatever. She shrugged it off.
Sure.
As time went on, she did become more hesitant about their relationship. A big point of contention was his drinking.
That would make me second guess it too.
Yep. For Bernadette. And here's the thing. I didn't do any research as far as how Bernadette is today. But for Bernadette at the time, she didn't think this was a big deal as she knew a lot of other people with drinking problems and they were just fine. And when I heard
Okay.
this, I was like,
I'm sorry, but when you have a drinking problem, you're not fine.
exactly. Exactly. I was like, Bernadette. That's why I said, I was like, I don't know how her perspective is nowadays because I was like, that doesn't really pertain to the story. But I was like, So anyway.
Yeah, no.
So Beth, on the other hand, started confiding in some of her Nantucket friends. She told that Tom drank and smoked, and friends were really shocked to hear this because that was the opposite of her. She then said he was a bit crazy, but she also minimized that 'cause she's like, I'm a little crazy too.
Oh, so she's settling
Yes, 100%.
at 44 years old.
Yeah.
Mm.
And it just gets worse. Arguably, excuses for his behavior were offset by how at home Beth felt when she was with him. So he protected her, and for the first time in 15 years, she felt like she was with someone who actually wanted to be with her. So she was starting to drink the Kool-Aid a little bit.
Oh.
In the past, she'd find something to critique a partner on and would think, I think we can work on that. So with that said, she decided that she wanted to work on Tom's drinking problems with him.
Good luck with that.
Thank you. 2 weeks after they met, they flew to California together. Tom had meetings to attend as an investment consultant, and Beth had decided to tag along.
Wow.
It was on this trip that she realized she could not dismiss his actions any longer. When she went to introduce him to her friends who were out there, he came across as distant and formal, and her friends literally couldn't understand him. They're like, what?
Wow. Okay.
And then on the day they were supposed to fly back east, Tom was a mess. He wasn't packed and was pacing around their hotel room. And by the time they got into a taxi, he had a temper tantrum. And when she asked to have the driver let them out, he turned on her. And that was the first time that she was actually really afraid. She was like, oh, shit.
And this is 2 weeks into their relationship.
Yep.
Oh, geez.
So by the time they'd arrive at the airport, he was 8 beers deep.
That's a problem.
Yep. On the plane, Tom asked Beth about what her friends thought of him. And when she told him that they thought he was sophisticated and charming, he said under his breath, "Boy, I really should have been an actor." Red flag, red flag, red flag, red flag.
Yep.
Arguably, this is when Beth started asking herself about who the real Tom was. She was going to give her relationship the 4 seasons test, which I had never heard of this before. Have you?
No, what is this?
So it's to see how things would evolve in a year.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, now that I kind of know, I'm like,
But I'm sorry, you got red flags at 2 weeks.
Yep.
I would have said that's a fuck no for me.
Yes, 100%.
No.
Then in October, after 6 weeks of dating, Beth made her way to New York to be with Tom. On top of all the red flags already mentioned, she gave him ultimatums. He had to pick alcohol over her, and Tom insisted that he wanted her over the booze. And it was during this week that Beth introduced her brother to Tom. To her brother, he came across as pompous and fake. That night at dinner, the brother kept asking Tom what he did for a living, and he was unable to answer particular questions such as, "You're an investor. What do you invest in?"
Oh.
Yep.
Fascinating.
No wonder why he couldn't answer the specific questions, because he was once arrested for trying to steal an $80,000 Roman bust from an antique show.
Oh.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. He pled guilty to disorderly conduct, and his attorney at the time described this incident enabling as a harmless drunken prank.
No.
And clearly it just didn't pan out because he actually was fired from his job at Citigroup. And work went downhill from here. So after dinner with the brother, when Tom and Beth were walking to Tom's apartment, the relationship went to a new extreme. Tom put her into a headlock and was walking her down the street, saying he wanted to beat her head in.
No, thank you. That's a no.
She'd only gone to his apartment so she could grab her Palm Pilot and cell phone.
The days of Palm Pilot.
I know, right?
That's hilarious. That's so funny.
This walk would, of course, make her wonder if she should have left everything behind and flee the relationship. Yes. Yes, you should.
Answer is yes.
Yes. Yes.
6 weeks, yes.
This 100% brought me back to the Colleen Hoover, It Starts With Us, It Ends With Us episode that we did last year. So let's take a step back for a moment. As you can guess, between being abusive towards Beth and having a drinking problem, this combination was something Tom had a history of. So let's go back 4 years prior to all this.
Gem he is then.
Becky had one date with Tom before walking away. Smart cookie. They'd met when she was a bartender at a New York sports bar, and she liked that he was charismatic, smart, had gone to Columbia, and his family was all Ivy League educated. One day, they had a date set up at a sports club. Fancy date, right?
Yeah. Extremely.
Yep. While the food was good, once Tom started drinking, he accused her of flirting with the bartender, when in actuality, she was just being polite. So once they got in a cab to leave, Tom started to grope her.
Nope.
When they reached her street, she jumped out of the car and ran across the street, leaving the cab driver yelling at Tom and him paying the fare. He was like, bye.
That's a no.
There was also another woman that he dated in Atlanta for several years. And from what I can tell, this was before he went on the date with Becky. With Becky. So he proposed to her, and initially they were engaged until she broke it off and he went wild. And he'd even drive by her house as if he was keeping tabs on her.
Whoa.
I was like, you're a fucking stalker. Go away.
You were able to date a woman long enough to propose, and she said yes?
Yeah.
For the moment?
Yep. And then Tom had
Jeez.
also apparently proposed to 2 other women.
Wow.
And like everyone else, well, for the most part, they both said no, largely because of his drinking. 4 years later, once Beth reached Tom's home, she didn't simply grab her items and leave. She stayed. And shocker, things went sour. I'm really trying to not victim blame.
But bitch.
Well, I'm also thinking this was like the early 2000s.
But still, like, I understand you're 44 years old, but like, holy smokes.
Yeah.
Don't do that to yourself.
Yeah. I think
Not good.
I think it's one of those cases where, like, again, I'm really not trying to victim blame. That's not my intent.
No, because Tom's a dick.
Yeah.
Like, there's no way he should have gotten away with this as long as he did.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
come on.
But I also think that when you're undergoing, even though this was only weeks, like weeks and weeks of this treatment, I do think that there's a certain level of you're still trying to second guess yourself and your instincts are you're fighting with them. So, yeah,
I guess
it's not
so,
ideal.
But, ugh.
So, anyway, that night, Tom raped her. Yep. And to this day, no one knows why she didn't leave then and there. My speculation is that she was determined to fix him and still thought that she had that power, but I'm not sure 100% based on what happens next.
She's going to be one of those. She's one of those chicks,
Maybe.
unfortunately.
Yep. So 2 days later, Beth decided to leave New York, and it was clear that she was planning on calling it quits on her relationship. She'd gone as far as leaving a message on her brother's answering machine to tell him she was going to spend the night at his home in Connecticut. She never made it as Tom had followed her. She made it as far as the Metropolitan before she came across a dark painting, a painting that reminded her of Tom. Since he was following her, he chose that moment as she was staring at the painting to propose.
No.
So again, this was not the first time he proposed to her.
No.
So he proceeds to propose in a very public space, and Beth did not feel safe enough to say no, so she said, I need more time.
I would have said no in a public space because then he couldn't have done anything.
Yeah, but you're also probably more ballsy than she was at this point.
Yeah, probably.
His response was that it was now or never, and so she replied with, good for her, never.
Good for her. Good for her.
She rushed out of the museum, and he chased after her, screaming that he was going to get drunk with his friends that night.
Goodbye.
She got in a cab to retrieve her stuff from his home, and at the last minute, he got in with her.
No.
Later that night, Beth called her brother, and as you could expect, she was definitely not okay. Her words were measured. She talked slowly. She enunciated clearly, unlike her, and she kept saying, I'm here with Tom in the city, and we're trying to work things out.
There was a script.
Yes, 100%. In hindsight, her brother felt awful for not asking if she was okay or asking her to like cough twice, that type of thing, if she was in trouble. At the time of this call, he was tired and didn't want to deal with the drama of her relationship. And I think that we've learned so much about domestic violence since then that we're not perfect, but it's one of those things where we recognize the signs a little bit more.
Yes.
So I just want to throw that in there. So through various accounts, a story was assembled of what exactly happened that night. Turns out, Tom had been holding Beth captive, even holding her at knife point as she made the call to her brother. Despite Beth trying to get away, he held her captive. It's not clear if he was drunk, probably was, but that night when Beth was laying in bed, he laid on her legs and passed out in an attempt to keep her from running. Of course, she did manage to get away around 4 a.m. She took the stairs instead of the elevator as she was afraid that the ding of the elevator would wake him up.
Fair.
Exactly. I was like, smart.
Very smart.
The plan was to get to LaGuardia so she could fly home to Nantucket. Then Saturday, October 3rd, it's 8 a.m. and Beth called her brother to tell him she'd broken up with Tom, and since then, Tom had called her about 50 times on her cell phone. Her family thought that with her back in Nantucket, things would get better. So, of course, with this being a true crime podcast, that would not be the case.
Yeah, unfortunately for that, too.
Yep.
Where is Tom's family in all this? Who was telling him, dude, this is a bad idea? Like, seriously, of all the things. Or where are your friends being like, dude, you need to stop. You shouldn't do this. Do you not have friends? Do you not have family?
He has family, but they're enablers. I'll get more to that a little bit.
Lovely.
Yep. So, of course, so this wouldn't be the only call she'd make on this day. She called a friend to tell her that they'd broken up, and she was aware that Tom had a gun. She was afraid that he was going to use it, so she was going to stay at her brother's house in Connecticut. So that day before leaving, she went to the Nantucket Police Department to ask how she could file a restraining order. In the end, she didn't file the paperwork because she wasn't ready to go that far and wouldn't give the officer Tom's name. So for the next 2 nights, she spent the night at her brother's home. Then she returned home, collecting Tom's clothing, And this to me just speaks to like how mature of a woman she is.
Mm-hmm.
Because she packaged it up and mailed it back to him.
I would have burned it.
I was about to say the same
I
thing.
would have had a bonfire with all of it.
I would have said the exact same thing.
Ooh, okay then.
Yep. She then returned to her home and chatted with her landlord, who was gardening at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they live side by side. That's kind of the impression that I
Makes
got.
sense.
So a little after 10:30, that's when that happened that morning. So they planned to get together a little after 1 p.m. after Beth had gotten some work done.
Mm-hmm.
The last time Beth was seen alive was when she went inside her home.
That's sketchy too.
So a short time later, the landlord heard a man's voice behind her asking if anyone was in the house. She turned around and a man dressed in a hat and a long overcoat was watching her. And she was inquiring specifically about Beth's home.
Mm-hmm.
The landlord was aware that Beth had been in a relationship and that it was now over. So she assumed it was the boyfriend coming back. She didn't really know too much. She was just like, oh, he's around again.
Sure,
Okay.
sure.
So she, as the landlord went back to her house to have lunch, the man entered Beth's cottage. And the landlord still didn't feel right about what was happening, so she called Beth's brother, but couldn't reach him. Next, she called Beth's parents, but couldn't reach them either. She was aware that Beth was planning on picking up her nephew before 1 p.m., but Beth's car hadn't moved.
Oh.
Then she noticed the shades in Beth's bedroom were closed. And that's when the landlord didn't feel good even more so she called Beth's brother again, and this time was able to talk to him.
Mm-hmm.
She told him everything, and he ordered her to lock the door, and he was going to call the police.
Mm-hmm.
Now, here's the thing. If I was in her position and things didn't feel quite right, I don't know if I'd be approaching the house.
I don't know if I would either. I don't know if I would get a baseball bat or something and go into the house.
I
Because-
probably would have called the police for a welfare check, to be honest.
I would have called the police, and I would have tried to go and knock on the door
Yeah.
with a weapon that I could use.
Mm-hmm.
That
Yep.
could be construed as, oh, this is my gardening shovel. I was gardening out in my yard.
Yep.
But could also be used as a weapon if need be.
Yep.
That's probably what I would have done in that situation.
Yeah. So when officers arrived, they knocked on Beth's door. Shocker, no
Mhm.
answer.
Mm-hmm.
Knowing what type of call had come in, they knew this meant trouble. They then looked into a window and noticed a female laying on the ground in the living room. That's when they kicked in the door and noticed some blood around her body and hand. And as procedure goes, they did a search of the cottage to make sure it was clear. No one was there, but they saw blood in a bedroom and in the living room on the walls and by her body, of course. She'd been stabbed 23 times.
That's the mark of a psycho.
Yep. There are wounds on her back and chest and defensive cuts on her hands. And I don't know why this last detail gives me the chills. It still does. I don't know why, but one of her nostrils had been slit.
Like,
Uh-huh. Yeah. I don't know why it creeps me out so much, but it does.
Because you don't hear about that stuff.
No,
Like,
you
who does
don't.
that?
No, you don't. I was like, oh my God.
Yucky.
So this was Nantucket's first murder on the island since 1984.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, within hours, Tom was arrested in Rhode Island. And of course, he was drunk driving.
Ah, interesting.
Does this kind of remind you of Safe Haven?
Yes.
That-
Safe Haven. That's another book. That's kind of
Yeah. Safe Haven, Nicholas Sparks.
Go read it.
Good movie, too. Yeah, good book, good movie. So anyway, so he was at twice the legal limit, and a rental car. Well, his rental car had beer and vodka in plain view. So his clothes were bloody and in a bag in the back seat. And needless to say, he was arrested without bail and arraigned a month later.
You're an idiot.
Bernadette was in the courtroom at this point. And at this point, she felt like everything that happened was her fault.
Don't blame yourself too much.
Well, for me, I say, yeah, you ignored all the signs of an abusive drunk and set your friend up who was looking for love with this monster.
I mean, yeah, there's that too. But again, she thought it wasn't that big of a deal. But it's like, but it is a big deal.
Exactly. Yep.
Like there's no such thing as a fine drinking problem.
Yep.
Sorry.
Yep. But that's my personal opinion.
Yeah.
So, yep. So he was charged with first-degree murder and assault and battery with a dangerous weapon. And of course, he pled not guilty.
Oh, shocking.
So in June of 2007, his trial began. His defense was that he shouldn't be found guilty by reason of insanity. The argument was that he had been plagued by alcoholism and a drug addiction, excuse me. When Beth broke up with him, he snapped. His deep psychological troubles and his addiction pushed him over the edge.
No.
Therefore, as his attorney argued, he was within the legal bounds of insanity.
No.
Yep. Then you'd asked
No, you
about his
psycho.
parents. You'd asked about his parents. So his
Mhm.
mom testified that when he was around 16 or 17, it became clear that he had an alcohol problem and that he was obtaining drugs online. And I will give them credit. Like they did try to help him. So they
I
sent
hope
him
so.
yeah. They sent him to rehab on multiple occasions starting in 1999, but he only lasted a month.
Unfortunately.
In the days before the murder, she described a conversation she'd had with her son. He was inconsolable and torn up over Beth. And the next day, her and her husband went to see him, and he was in terrible shape. Shocker, reeking of alcohol.
Yeah, you're probably having withdrawals.
Yep. 2 days later, when he was arrested, his blood alcohol level was a .30.
Ouch.
Yeah.
That hurts.
Yep. So this is the next level above confusion to the stupor phase, just so we're clear. Like,
Okay.
obviously, it's very, very drunk, but
Yes.
putting it into words.
Yes.
So arguably, this was only from alcohol. With drugs involved, it was even worse.
Oy, oy, oy.
On top of all of this, the defense argued that Tom had battled depression and OCD for years. In the late 80s, he had even attempted suicide. Then, on the stand, a neuropsychologist testified that the years of alcohol and drug abuse had brought upon a frontal lobe defect. But this is really a thing. Like, I do have a family member who arguably has that going on.
That's so wild though, but it's like how is someone like how do you let someone like that out into the world though at that point? If you have a frontal lobe defect and you're an alcoholic and you're a drug addict, it's kind of like who is taking care of you? You can't take care of yourself, obviously.
Enablers. I have family
Ugh.
members with the exact same thing going on.
Oh,
There's no relationship there for sure, but
oh my
yeah.
gosh.
Yep. Yeah, it's awful. So they had argued that because of all of this, Tom was unable to control his impulses. Therefore, he couldn't be held criminally responsible for the murder. And to that, I say that's bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
So to summarize, you have years of abuse from an addiction to drugs and alcohol,
Mm-hmm.
a frontal lobe defect from that,
Mm-hmm.
depression, and OCD.
Mm-hmm.
The prosecution, on the other hand, argued that there was premeditation involved. So on the night before the murder, security guards at LaGuardia stopped him from boarding a plane to Nantucket because he was carrying a 10-inch knife.
Yeah, makes sense.
When asked about it, he said that he forgot he had it on him. You don't forget that.
You don't forget about a 10-inch knife.
No. Then that he was having a meal with his sister on Nantucket and she wanted him to bring the knife. Don't change your story, dude.
No.
The morning after this, he boarded another plane, also bound for Nantucket, without the knife.
Mm-hmm.
And when he landed, he went shopping. And he may have been drinking, but he was used to consuming a high level of drugs and alcohol without showing it.
Mm-hmm.
So the sales associate who sold him the murder weapon, and I've seen two different sources. One was saying a 4-inch fishing knife, and others said 2 knives, but I'm pretty sure it's the 4-inch fishing knife.
Okay.
For clarity's sake and details. And the rental car agreement agent from Cape Cod Airport, they were both called to testify and both said that he did not appear to be under the influence of anything during their encounter.
That's kind of scary.
Exactly. Then, surveillance footage was played from the airport on Cape Cod showing Tom's condition. He wasn't stumbling, and all of his interactions with others appeared normal.
That's terrifying.
After he was arrested, audio from his time in the police cruiser was played, and he was coherent and able to think clearly and distinguish right from wrong.
At an alcohol level of 0.30. That's scary.
Yeah. A forensic psychologist went on the stand for the prosecution, and contrary to what the defense declared, he said that on this day, Tom did not have a mental disease or defect.
Hallelujah.
After 9 days of testimony and 5 hours of deliberation, Tom was found guilty of all counts and sentenced to life in prison without parole.
Good.
The end. Just
Goodbye.
Kidding. Just kidding.
Just kidding. Shit. Of course, it's not that easy.
Yep. So in August of 2011, the Massachusetts Supreme Judicial Court overturned his conviction.
Oh my gosh.
This was due to flaws during the jury selection process and ordered a new trial.
Oh my gosh.
This new trial started in June of 2013, and at this time it was held in Barnstable, Massachusetts. And this time the defense's argument was that while Tom did kill Beth, the jury had to decide why. They weren't doing away with Tom's past, but they were asking the jury if they were willing to put someone away who had underlying mental issues.
Is he going to stay in a mental hospital for the rest of his life?
Well,
That puts other people at risk if he's not.
the prosecution argued what they had before, and that after 52 days of knowing Beth, Tom knew exactly what he was doing. So let's not forget this important detail.
Mm-hmm.
These two knew each other for 52 days before he murdered her.
6 weeks.
Like,
Mhm.
So by the time the jurors got the case, they had a verdict on the same day. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
He was found guilty again for first-degree murder.
Good.
And he was again sentenced to life.
Good.
Unsurprisingly, he appealed his second conviction, arguing that there were challenges to the instructions jurors received. But the court, thank goodness, rejected their arguments. So he's still behind bars.
Good.
I'm like, thank goodness.
Please stay there.
But to end this on a little bit of a brighter note, in 2005, a book that Beth and her father, John, had been working on was published. Beth wrote the story and her father illustrated it. And it's called Tell Me About Your Dreams.
Cool.
So that is the story of Beth Lochtefeld and Tom Tulin. And before I forget, because I made a really big deal of it this last episode, my sources were the Dateline podcast. The episode is called Fatal Attraction.
Mm-hmm.
This is a Dateline episode,
Mm-hmm.
and I have Peacock, so I can watch all these episodes, and it's
Mhm.
not there.
Huh?
Yeah, exactly. So I listened to the
Okay.
podcast for that. Also got articles from Cape Cod Times, Nantucket Current, NBC News, ABC News, Money.cnn. Yeah, and those are all my sources. So
Okay. Awesome.
that's what we got.
Beautiful.
And
Well done.
we thank you. And we paused during your segment, and we got to pause again because, well, the tea went through me. So stand by before we continue on to our last segment. All right, we are back. Bathroom has been done. But yeah, that was a bit of a wild ride, and there were a lot of parallels to Here's to Us, where I was like, I gotta do it.
I have a lot of opinions about that for sure. I have a lot of opinions about Tom and his disabilities that he has. And it's like, if you have that many problems and you're a risk to society, it's kind of like you either need a guardian and someone who's going to watch over you and take care of you, or you need to go to a home that specializes in that because you can't do that.
I mean, I think it really depends on the family dynamics. Clearly, his parents tried to give him help. But again, as having more than one family member who do suffer from drug and alcohol addiction
Mhm.
and are enabled, and one of them has ended up in the hospital, they're enabled left and
Mhm.
right.
Mhm.
So it's one of
Mhm.
those things where I agree. Like, I think he needs something better. And I'm going to sound really harsh and really nasty when I say this,
Do it.
but sometimes I think passing away is the best thing because as someone who has witnessed this type of addiction and being involved in domestic violence situations, and they have no desire to help themselves. That's the
Mhm.
key. They have no desire to help themselves. I just don't think
Mhm.
that they're a member of society anymore, and
Mhm.
they can say adios.
Yep.
As mean as it sounds,
Nope. I am totally there with you.
yeah.
I
If they're
get it.
trying to help themselves, absolutely give them every opportunity.
Mhm.
But the number of people around that are affected or that witness it, even if like any sort of relationship has been cut off, like
Mhm.
you're still going to be hearing about things.
Mhm.
It's bad. So I'm very happy he's locked up.
Yes.
I do feel awful that Beth had that. She had a very great life. She sounded like she had a great personality, and that's the way it ended.
Mhm.
So, yeah.
Mhm. Mhm. Ay, ay, ay.
Yeah. But all right. What do we have for next month?
We have The Berry Pickers by Amanda Peters.
Mhm.
You picked this book, actually.
I did.
This was I'm excited. Very excited. So we have July 1962. Following in the tradition of Indigenous workers from Nova Scotia, a Mi'kmaq family arrives in Maine to pick blueberries for the summer. Did I say that right? Close enough.
Close enough.
Weeks later, 4-year-old Ruthie, the family's youngest child, vanishes. She is last seen by her 6-year-old brother Joe sitting on a favorite rock at the edge of a berry field. Joe will remain distraught by his sister's disappearance for years to come. In Maine, a young girl named Norma grows up as the only child of an affluent family. Her father is emotionally distant, her mother frustratingly overprotective. Norma is often troubled by recurring dreams and visions that seem more like memories than imagination. As she grows older, Norma slowly comes to realize there is something her parents aren't telling her. Unwilling to abandon her intuition, she will spend decades trying to uncover this family secret. An unforgettable exploration of grief, love, and kin. This show-stopping debut of a vibrant new voice in fiction is a riveting novel about the search for truth, the shadow of trauma, and the persistence of love across time.
I have been told by many people how good of a book this is. We shall see how it goes.
I'm very excited.
Cool. Alrighty. Well, as always, we record whenever we can. So, Alexa, where is the best place for people to find us?
The Gram at Books, Booze, Murder. YouTube at Books, Booze, Murder. The TikTok at Books, Booze, Murder Pod.
And then Spotify.
And Spotify. I always forget about that one. And Spotify at Books, Booze, Murder. That's the most important one.
I know.
Cheese and rice. Fine.
All right. Well, I think it's time for us to take a nap or something.
I need to eat food.
All right. Well, thank you for listening. Until next time. Bye-bye.
Toodles.